Good afternoon, everybody. Aquatic here. You guys are probably new to the channel, but not new to me. However, if you are, welcome. Wanted to give a big shout out to you, the viewers, for getting us up to 14 subscribers from the first video. 31 views and 6 likes ain't bad. So I'm going to say for this, let's shoot for, how about 8 likes, and let's get to 20 subscribers. So 6 more. Go ahead and hit that button, guys. Really appreciate it, and we can try to rebuild something here. Hopping right on into it, we got a lot of things to cover from winds of war, obviously Russia, Ukraine being the priority. We might touch base on China, Taiwan. We've got some stuff from central banks, real estate, inflation, COVID, monkeypox. Let's get right into it. Here we've got from Reuters, NATO to boost troops on high alert to over 300,000. That's a more than seven-fold jump from the original 40,000 that currently make up the alliance's existing QRF, Quick Reaction Force, the NATO Response Force, NRF. Number of troops is on high alert would rise, change driven by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, aimed at shoring up NATO's eastern flank nearest to Russia. Madrid summit this week to adopt NATO's stance on Russia, and new strategy paper is branding Russia a, quote, direct threat. Again, increasing troops from 40,000 to 300,000. I found this part particularly interesting, that the NRF would provide a larger pool of high readiness forces across land, sea, air, and cyber. If you guys have been following Russia's recent cyber attacks and other cyber capabilities, it's definitely going to be very prevalent in any future conflicts. NATO combat units on the alliance's eastern flank nearest Russia, especially the Baltic states, are to be boosted to brigade level. Together, this constitutes the biggest overhaul of our collective deterrence and defense since the Cold War. They're planning on having this done by 2023, and they expect allies will state clearly that Russia poses a, quote, direct threat to our security, values, and to the rule-based international order. Interesting one, Turkey's opposition to the membership bids of Sweden and Finland. We've got an article, I believe later on. Actually, it might be this one. No, it's not. But they ended up folding and said that they got what they wanted out of the Nordic countries. Here we have Britain saying this is our 1937 moment. Again, leading into World War II. Now Britain is saying this is the equivalent of that. The 1937 moment, UK's new army chief says of the war. Again, that's from military leader General Patrick Sanders, and making reference to Western Europe's failure to confront Nazi Germany's territorial expansion in the years preceding World War II. He says, quote, we are not at war, but we must act rapidly so that we aren't drawn into one through a failure to contain territorial expansion. Describing Russia as the most direct and pressing threat to Europe, to our allies, and to these shores. Russia will lash out against wider Europe. He says there's a very real danger of that. The threat changed, so must the funding. I found that to be the funny silver lining. Again, this guy, Mr. Wallace, said that he had always said that as the threat changed, so must the funding. So they're going to be asking for more money, more NATO commitments, etc., etc., etc. Investments in defense need to continue to grow. So it's always about the money, folks, as you can see. U.S. to announce long-term military reinforcements in Europe. The United States will announce new long-term military deployments across Europe in response to the threat. The forces will be focused on the Baltics, Balkans, and NATO's eastern flank bordering Russia. He underlined that the alliance beefing up of forces is not just in response to immediate instability caused by Russia. I found that to be interesting, whether it's a lie or the truth, either way, claiming they just wanted to expand regardless, and now that Russia has given them the opportunity to, never let a good crisis go to waste, as most people are familiar with that quote. The long-term change in the strategic reality. One of the announcements will be basing 6 U.S. naval destroyers at the base in southern Spain. We currently have 4, so they're going to be adding 2 more. And also, here was what I was talking about. Longtime failure by many alliance members to meet their pledge of spending at least 2% on GDP on military budgets is rapidly being addressed, which is a key concern for Washington as it foots much of the bill for defending Europe. Uh, Corn Pop, I doubt, cares about the spending. We're going to spend, 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 and inflation's just going to keep going higher and higher. Uh, in fact, I doubt he knows what inflation or NATO even is at this point. He had a card on his desk that was instructing him to take a seat, who to call on, not to leave, not to say this or that. It was like 6, 7 word sentences, all A through B. Here we go from CNN. I found this an interesting headline from CNN admitting West pushed Russia into the first foreign debt default since 1918. Again, in 100 plus years. Now, Russia has defaulted on its foreign debt for the first time since the Bolshevik Revolution more than a century ago, following the reports that Moscow had failed to pay about 100 million in interest on 2 bonds during a 30-day grace period that expired Sunday. Now, the Kremlin said that it would service its foreign debt in rubles rather than the currency the bonds were issued in. However, sanctioning Russia's National Settlement Depository, the country's agent for its foreign currency bonds. Meanwhile, Russia's currency has soared to a 7-year high against the US dollar. Allegations of default are incorrect because the necessary currency payment was made as early as back in May, Kremlin spokesperson says. The fact that money transferred to Euroclear was not delivered to investors, and they said, quote, "That is not our problem." Euroclear can't settle any securities with counterparties that are subject to sanctions, so that's why the headline, West pushes Russia into first debt. Foreign debt default since 1918 because Euroclear won't process it, considering they're under sanctions. ECB to activate first line of defense in bond market starting a few days ago Friday. Updated on June 28th, they were talking about European Central Bank will activate the bond purchasing firepower. It's earmarked as a first line of defense against a possible debt market crisis on Friday, according to President Christine Lagarde. Recession woes. On to more doom and gloom headlines. Recession woes hand emerging stocks worst first half since 1998. MSCI's emerging market index has fallen about 17% in 2022 so far, with my prediction it's only going to get worse. Concerns about inflation, China virus curbs weigh on sentiment. Again, COVID is back in the headlines. Worst half since 24 years. Emerging market equities are on track for their worst first half performance in 24 years as investors fret over high inflation and a potential hit to the global economy from monetary tightening and hyperinflation. G7 to announce ban on import of new Russian gold on Tuesday, U.S. officials say. Ban on imports from Russia gold is from 7 rich democracies that will announce that together. Biden announced a $600 billion global infrastructure program to counter China's clout. My favorite part is $200 billion now and more over the next 5 years. They said it was for... here. They claimed it's an investment that will deliver returns for everyone, including the American people. He wants to name this the Build Back Better World. So, Build Back Better slogan, but now global. Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment. They're calling it the PGII. My favorite part is the projects are for clean energy, okay, whatever, health systems, like the vaccines, wink wink, and gender equality and information. Wow. That sounds like a great investment. A great return is on the way for the American people. $200 billion will be spent, and part of it will go towards gender equality and information. Excellent. They're also sending $50 million from the U.S. to the World Bank. Sounds like another great investment on the way for, quote, Child Care Incentive Fund, which I'm sure has nothing to do with child care. And also 3.3 million in technical assistance from the US for producing COVID vaccines, which we will get to in just a bit. Speaking of COVID being back a couple minutes ago, it is very much so back. Anyway, they go on to talk about combining government with private capital from pension funds, private equity funds, insurance funds, and others. Interesting. So using pension funds, private equity, insurance, and private capital. Sounds promising, huh? That is a joke for anybody who is new. Obviously, that is not promising. We will not see any kind of return or benefit ever. Here we go from Bloomberg. Europe must be ready to cut gas use by this winter. Keep in mind, this is already month 7 almost in a couple days here. Out of 12, we're heading into, peak summer, then fall, winter, just around the corner. Europe must be ready to cut gas use by 30%. Countries need to prepare for total halt in gas from Russia. Again, countries need to prepare for a total 100% halt from Russian gas. Here we go from CNBC talking about crypto. One of the most prominent crypto hedge funds just defaulted on a $670 million loan. I had this article pulled up, but Butter Czar posted it in the AR Markets trading floor. So shout out to him. He saw this as well. Prominent crypto hedge fund Three Arrows Capital defaulted on a loan worth more than $670 million, failed to repay a loan of $350 million in US dollar pegged stablecoin, and failed to pay another 15,250 bitcoins. That's from digital asset brokerage Voyager Digital. And interesting, they noted the crypto market is sitting at about 950 billion, and at its peak in November 2021, it was 3 trillion. So again, we've fallen by 2/3. Consumer confidence crashes in June. Richmond Fed survey plunges to COVID lockdown low. Again, take note of that headline. Richmond Fed survey plunges to COVID lockdown low. That is horrible. That is the weakest level for hope in the future since 2013. And under the hood, shipments and new orders collapsed, and local business conditions were a bloodbath, with expectations for conditions in the future worsening notably. Here we've got soaring inflation and crashing rates are sparking trucking's great purge. Again, trucking is an increasing problem, whether it's a shortage of drivers, shortage of trucks, shortage of parts for the trucks, shortage of the DEF, you name it. More problems on the way. Here from Business Insider India, China's building a yuan currency reserve to compete with the dollar and prop up other economies facing volatility. They're going to be entering that with Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Chile. Russia and China have been attempting to develop a new reserve currency with other BRICS countries. Basket of currencies would present a U.S.-dominated international monetary fund alternative and include contributions from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Obviously, these countries all want to get away from the dollar, even though the dollar has hit a 20-year high in recent weeks. March reports emerge of a Saudi oil price deal in the Chinese currency. That was an interesting one, as pretty much everyone around the world in finance noted the Saudis making deals not in US dollars. Here we've got real estate always does pretty well during a recession. Doesn't see real estate prices going down. I put this from Yahoo Finance as a joke. Pretty much everything you see on Yahoo Finance, you should do the opposite, because next article, Fifth Ave Co-op tops another slow week for Manhattan luxury contracts. Talking about a 10th floor unit slashing its asking price by 70%. Also, Kathy Woods finally warns, we're already in a recession. She must have listened to the Aquatic show on The Real Report last week, because I'd mentioned the same thing. We're already in a recession. And next quarter, they can finally announce that we're in you guessed it, a depression. U.S. is already in a recession from another billionaire investor. 23 million Californians may be getting a stimmy check as inflation rages and they seek inflation relief. Pretty ridiculous that we're back on stimmy headlines, only going to make inflation even worse. Here's how bad some retailers are doing currently. Bed Bath & Beyond turning off the air conditioning in stores to save money. Struggling home goods chain, which reported a steep decline in sales last quarter. Not only are they turning the air conditioning off to save, they're also reducing store hours in July and pushing their opening to 11 a.m. Ah, man. Guys, remember the good old days when you could go into a place at about 9 a.m. and they were open till, I don't know, 10 p.m.? You had a lot of grocery stores, Walmart, Giant Eagle open 24 hours. Now, open noon to 8. Isn't it great? Inflation and recession fears are squeezing some industries more than others. Shoppers are feeling the pressure as inflation pushes prices for gas, groceries, and a range of other goods. They are saying, however, that airlines, movie theaters, and specialty retailers are among the businesses that so far say they've been shielded from a slowing economy. I guarantee their shielding is not going to last much longer. You guys have seen the price of gas, and you've probably noted the price of airline tickets has gone through the roof. I had a couple trips that I was considering going on, and after the price of a flight has almost gone up 500%, I'm not very inclined. Other companies like McDonald's are seeing signs that consumer demand is weakening. All right, we've got more layoffs. I wish I wish in this report I could tell you guys things are looking up and improving. Unfortunately, it's only getting worse and going to get worse. Apple laying off 12% of its workforce amid economic downturn. Banking layoffs could start as soon as July. Goldman Sachs on Coinbase's problem. Street-wide RIF, which is a reduction in force, is coming in July. That's from banks' second quarter revenues will be, quote, ugly. Again, banks' second quarter revenues will be ugly. Might as well forget 2022 bonuses now. So they're already telling people you're going to be laid off in July. Anybody that's still on, you can forget about your bonus. Also, Coinbase, the crypto exchange, trimming 1,000 people. And they were just talking about crypto hedge fund, 3 Arrows again, and a couple other things. Layoffs, all you got to do is go on Google, take a look for yourself. IronNet, Silicon Valley, layoffs, hiring freezes, inflation, possible recession, talking about 5 days ago. We already mentioned that last week when I pulled that article up for you guys. Netflix beginning second round of layoffs. It just keeps going. Hell, they're even mentioning the housing market cooling off there as well. Speaking of COVID being back, here it is again. FDA advisors recommend updating all COVID booster shots for the fall. COVID-19 boosters this fall said that it's time to tweak the shots. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, will have to decide the exact recipe, though, so you gotta wait. Fall booster campaign will be an effort to blunt the COVID-19 surge. That's again, they're expecting another wave this winter. Question is, are the people going to go for it? Also, you guys probably saw the now famous clip of Biden saying, "We're going to have another pandemic. Well, maybe we're already in another pandemic," as he reached out for his ice cream. U.S. health officials expand recommendations for, you guessed it, need another pandemic? How about monkeypox? As of Tuesday, the U.S. identified 306 cases in 27 of our 50 not-so-great states. Also, health officials on Tuesday expanded the group of people recommended to get the vaccine against the monkeypox virus. It includes men who have already recently had sex with men at parties or in other gatherings, and also they experience fever, body chills, fatigue. You may develop a rash and lesions on the face or hands. The disease is an endemic in parts of Africa. Infected through bites from rodents or small animals is another way to get it, that it is passed on. It is not usually spread easily among people, although I wonder why, what everyone took, and if that could contribute to why it's spreading. More than 4,700 cases have been found in more than 40 other countries outside Africa. So far, the government deployed over 9,000 doses of the vaccine, and they're going to have over 240,000 more doses available in the coming weeks. There you go, folks. There it is. They want more than 1 million over the coming months. So step right up and get your next round of jabs. Canada's got over 235 monkeypox cases, and the UK has now reported there are over 1,076 cases of monkeypox in England. Here was an interesting headline. Nobody's going to talk about this most likely, but I'll pass it on. Michael Stringer, the Senate security chief on the January 6th day where they went into the Capitol to protest, he died, hear this, one day before Tuesday's hearing to present new evidence about how everybody got into the Capitol on the famed January 6th insurrection. The Marine Corps veteran was 71 and spent 35 years in the Secret Service and died the day before. Make of that what you will. Hackers are targeting anti-abortion states, plan attacks on pro-life entities. They're releasing troves of government data and has said more cyber attacks are coming. At first, I was going to say, come on, really? But then I realized I might have more in common with them than I thought. If you zoom in here on my mouse, bottom of the screen, this is their feeling about the government. And I said, you know what? I agree with the sentiment. E-commerce platforms not publishing negative reviews in India. Only reason I found this interesting is as censorship continues to grow globally. Now in India, 58% of consumers complain that their negative product ratings and reviews are not being published by e-commerce platforms. And to wrap this up, this was a headline I pulled just 10 minutes before starting this video. U.S. government buys 105 million doses of Pfizer's mRNA vaccine for fall. That's right, 105 million doses bought just for you and me for this fall. They're saying that boosters with an option of 195 million more doses could be on the way. So in case your first, second, third, fourth, or fifth dose just didn't do it for you, a 6 or more is on the way. With that, guys, we're going to leave it off. If you guys learned anything, again, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm going to call these, I think, the real report. And whatever you are seeing on the ground, whether it's inflation, boots on the ground, what are you seeing? What are you observing? What's weird? How are you guys doing with fuel? Is it available? Is it getting too expensive? How your business is doing? Are there shortages? Let me guys know if you have anything in the comments below. I'd be happy to read those off in the next report, and let's try and collaborate so that we can get a real picture of what's really going on. So again, guys, please hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Helps out tremendously, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.